Hi everyone, I'm Theresa V, and this is the place to be if you're a sensitive or an empath who wants to feel more alive in this amazingly beautiful world. I actually get asked a lot, well, how do I know if I'm a sensitive or an empath? And in this video, we'll be covering exactly that. Stay tuned. Just to start by defining parameters. What we mean by a highly sensitive person is a person whose nervous system is more acutely attuned. That 20 to 25% of the Earth's population who are high in sensory processing sensitivity. We have increased emotional sensitivity. We can even be empathetic, where we feel another person's pain. And we have a stronger reactivity to internal and external stimuli. Things like pain or hunger or light or anything. We also tend to have a complex inner life, which very often means we're spiritually focused. So you may already see yourself just in the definition. As new children are being born, I'm convinced that we're no longer 20% of the population. We're creeping up to the 25% mark now. Today we'll be covering 5 of the main ways to recognize if you're sensitive or empathic. Most of the times we don't actually recognize these things because it's just who we are. These traits are woven into our fabric, and we may not even recognize that we're different from other people. We might just assume that others experience the world in the exact same way we do. I know that was the case with me. There was one day where I was sitting with one of my teachers, and I don't remember what we were speaking about, but I said, well, do you know how it's like when you walk into a room and you know what everyone is thinking and feeling, and you can sort of navigate who needs what and where you need to be? And she said, I don't know if you realize this, but that's not something everybody can do. And I said, what? Like, what are you talking about? She says, this isn't something everyone can do. This is something that is unique to you. And I was like, wow. And in that moment, it was like everything about the world clicked. Suddenly I understood myself at a deeper level than I had ever understood myself before. And at the same time, I understood the world a lot better. It made more sense how things could be the way they are if this wasn't the case with everybody. Because if everyone understood what another was feeling or thinking or going through, how could the world be as much of a pain-ridden place as it was? And so this gave me the freedom to be more of myself and to approach the world in a way that I knew was uniquely me. And my hopes are that the things that we go over today will help you to understand yourself at a very deep level, to understand how you are different, how you are unique, and how you can better be of service to yourself and to the world through the sensitivities that are your superpowers. Now, you may not see yourself in all 5 of the things we're going through today, but I guarantee you that if you're here, you'll see yourself in at least 1, maybe even 2 or 3. One of the first things that you might be able to relate to is the tendency to get completely overwhelmed by strong sensory input. Things like potent smells, loud noises, bright light, a lot of color or strobing lights, too much movement. When there's too much sensory input, it can cause you to want to shut down to protect yourself. You'll probably find in these situations that you need to withdraw yourself to have relief. This is one of the first things you'll notice with highly sensitive children, the need to withdraw when there's too much sensory stimulation. So one of the ways you can support your children, if you're noticing this, is to actually give them a place to go. Make it safe for them to get away from all of the stimulation so that they can regroup and reestablish themselves and either choose to stay away or to re-enter the situation from a more grounded and stable place. As an adult, it's much easier for us to convince ourselves that we need to go back into that situation, but giving yourself the freedom to choose not to choose to stay in an environment that feels better to you, is also a choice. It's within your power and it's within your right. The second thing you might notice is many highly sensitive people are also very sensitive to chemicals. Whether it's cleaners, dust, chemicals in the air, it can also be food sensitivities. We're very often much more sensitive to certain kinds of food or certain additives in food. This is because for us, a little goes a long way. A little stimulation, a little medication, a little of everything is magnified in our system because we're more sensitive than most of the population. The third item is that you are more sympathetic to others. You feel the need, the pain, the discomfort, and relate to it. For example, if you go into a doctor's office waiting room and you see somebody there who's uncomfortable, who's worried, you may feel the need or the compulsion to go over and speak to them, to make them feel a little bit more relaxed, to help them. It's the healer in you. Sensitive people tend to have the quality of healer. And so your ability to feel or anticipate another's pain means that you can be an agent of healing in that situation if you so choose. In another way, maybe you have a loved one or a relative who's fallen ill and you go to visit them and they look uncomfortable and you just know, oh, a pillow under their legs would make them so much more comfortable, or maybe if I sit them up a little bit and rub their back, it would make them feel better. It's like you intuitively know what to do when someone is in pain or discomfort. You may not know where the guidance comes from, but you just know what to do. One of the funniest and most disturbing things that you can do as a sensitive is watch those shows that have videos of people who are like falling off things or getting hurt, because your level of empathy actually makes you feel it. You can relate to what that person is going through. You feel it in your body. You have a visceral reaction. And so if you've ever watched one of those television shows with somebody who processes that way, it can be very funny, but it can also be very painful and disturbing to them. You tend to attract other sensitive people into your life, so you have to be conscious of the way that another processes if it's different from the way you do as well. The fourth way we can identify as sensitives for the purposes of this video is that we resonate deeply with beauty, whether it's art or a scent like an essential oil, or a beautiful taste, or a lovely sound. Those things can affect us on a very deep level. Art, music, all of it, and we can actually feel what the person is trying to convey, or feel the underlying qualities of the essential oil or the tastes or whatever it is. One of the interesting experiences that I've had going out to a restaurant with other sensitives is, yes, all of these things are true. And at the same time, if you're at a restaurant and you're ordering a meal, sensitive people can also feel the energy that's been put into the food. So if the person cooking or preparing the food was upset or sad that day, that person receiving the food might actually be able to feel that. I actually had a friend who used to send plates back. She would get her food and it would look perfect, and she would say, I can't eat this, I'm going to send it back. And the wait staff would be like, well, what's wrong with it? And she would say, I just can't, the chef is in a bad mood, I can't eat it. And they would be like floored by like, how did you know that? But it was just her way, and she would not take it in. And other people at the table might be equally sensitive, but not perceive energy the way she did. So as much as we can feel the negative, we can also take our sensitivities and turn them positive. We can have that full sensory experience of the texture and the taste of the chocolate cake, and we can let that bring us to a new level of joy. And so our ability to notice the subtleties in things like art and music and all of our sensory experiences can be used to enhance our lives at any moment during any day. Another way that often goes undetected, but is a really good way to evaluate whether someone is sensitive or not, is how they do under pressure in competition or in observation. So if being observed, doing a task that you would do every day, makes you nervous, makes you jittery, makes you shaky, chances are pretty good that you're a highly sensitive person. Likewise, if you're super talented or astounding at a sport or any given thing and you enter a competition, chances are that you'll feel equally shaky or nervous. Maybe in these situations where you're being observed or in competition, you would do much worse than you would normally do. Our nervous systems are running on 10 all the time already. Then we add this extra pressure and it's almost like it becomes too much for us to handle, and we might even find ourselves losing control of ourselves in the situation. So if you've recognized yourself or your child in at least one or two of these things, it's safe to say that you're a highly sensitive person, maybe even an empath. One does not always equal the other, but very often those two things go hand in hand. Most of us who are adults, have grown up and have entered a workforce that has asked that we function like the other 80% of the population. There was no place for our sensitivity a lot of times when we were asked to show up in the things that we had to do in the day-to-day. So we adopted a lot of behaviors that were pushing behaviors where we would go beyond our sensitivity. We would exert more energy than we actually had just to get through the day. And we would do that for a little while and then fall exhausted and have to recoup ourselves. Luckily, because we are now in positions of leadership, things are changing. Children who are sensitive now have more of an outlet, more understanding for the way that they process things, for the way that they show up in the world. And this will continue to change as we grow to accept ourselves and figure out what works for us as individuals as well as a group. If you would like to take the full assessment, as put together by Dr. Aron, the person who coined the term highly sensitive person, you can follow the link in the description of this video. As always, thank you so much for being here, for being part of this community, and for sharing these videos out far and wide with those who need this information. It's my hope that we can all see ourselves more clearly this year and we can step into more of the authenticity of who we are, because the earth sorely needs us exactly as we were created. And I'm so grateful that you've chosen to be here at this time. If you would like more support in stepping into your authentic, sensitive superpowers, check out the membership where you'll receive daily energy work from the 1st to the 28th of each month, and you'll join a phenomenal community of like-hearted people who are working to expand themselves and the way they show up in the world the same way you are. For more information on the membership, just tap the link in the comments section below or in the description of this video. I look so forward to supporting you inside the membership through more of these videos and through the work that we'll do throughout the year together. I'm sending you so much love and so much gratitude. We'll talk soon. Bye.